Change is seductive, isn't it? It arrives dressed in optimism and speaks of the language of promise, but change is not necessarily better. It's often painful, frequently uncertain, sometimes dangerously misdiagnosed. I spent much of yesterday in a hospital going through MRI scans, and I must say afterwards I was exhausted. It doesn't mean that I'm any better. It doesn't mean that I know what's going on, and I certainly don't have any surgery or solution. Just have the experience of having been confined in a small space for an hour or two, and being shunted around. But Britain, in I must say it was done with great charm. But Britain, the change in government from the Conservative government to Labour after 14 years in opposition, Labour returned to power. But it wasn't a wave of idealism. It wasn't. It was a tide of exhaustion that sort of pushed that forward, and the public wanted something different, anything different from what they had. And Labour's slogan was change, and so they won. But change without a clear destination isn't progress. It's drift, and so it's proving. Clive Lewis is a principled MP, thoughtful, eloquent, often lonely. Believes in prioritising the vulnerable, the disabled, the poor, the voiceless. But he faces this dilemma. Should he resign and make a statement, or remain and try and bend the course of the ship from within? His silence when asked if the Labour government has been a disappointment, which is such an interesting moment, was more eloquent than any rebuke. I mean, he did in the end come back with an answer. But he knows, as we all suspect, that while the government has changed, the architecture of economic orthodoxy has not changed. Neoliberalism is intact. Taxation of wealth is still taboo, and so the poorest will once again be asked to pay for the crisis they didn't cause. Diagnosing a country's ailments is difficult when your political strategy depends not on alarming the patient. And Reeves and Starmer have walked a tightrope, claiming economic disaster is the result of what they've inherited, and this should justify restraint while promising uplift and transformation. But you cannot frighten the public into austerity and then expect them to dance with joy. We've been here before, and people remember. We're now told to wait, that the fruits of this new administration will arrive in the years ahead, but universal credit changes are coming now, cuts to the civil service are coming now, the prospect of 50,000 more children in poverty is coming now. It's not an abstraction, it's a policy in motion. And meanwhile, Labour MPs who propose or who oppose this face marginalisation. Clive Lewis isn't alone, but he is outnumbered. And the party's majority is so large that internal dissent can be ignored unless MPs build coalitions within frameworks like the ERG, which overtook the Conservative Party. So they make themselves impossible to ignore. There's the painful truth of parliamentary politics. Once you rebel as an individual, whether with righteousness or not, you are then forgotten. But with numbers, there is a possibility of something changing. Change can be redirected, but only when it comes with force. If Labour MPs don't want to organise and resist these policies, they'll find themselves indistinguishable from the government that they replaced, and they will be punished accordingly by the end of this session, by the end of this parliament. The current government has no chance of conjuring growth out of a stagnating economy. No, they have no more chance than Liz Truss had with her libertarian fantasies. Both have placed their faith in a model that has lost its magic. Neoliberalism is an old dog, and Britain is in need of a new trick. We don't have a growth problem, we have a capitalism problem. We don't lack for solutions, we lack for the political will to implement those solutions. Rent controls, wealth taxation, investment in public goods. These are not radical ideas, these are necessary ideas. Change must come from something other than just another slogan. We have to have content, character, and courage. Otherwise, it becomes an empty ritual, repeated every few years at the ballot box and forgotten by morning. So yes, Clive Lewis is right to hesitate. Change is not necessarily better, and this is the moment where the Labour Party must decide, does it want to be a caretaker of a broken system or the architect of something new? The public may forgive failure, but they won't forgive cowardice. And at the moment, the present Labour government is embarking on some sort of cowardice, and the opposition doesn't have any further plans other than doing the same as they were doing in power. What we actually need is a new insight. I think that new insight lies in getting rid or repurposing a lot of the bureaucracy that we've got. Using bureaucracy to bully the population, that day is over. And if that's the starting point of a new wave of looking at the direction of government, that would be a good thing. I don't think either the Labour Party or the Conservative Party has got that in its vision. It's still thinking about trimming or repurposing to achieve the same old goal. The goal needs to change. And the goal which we've got, the goal we've inherited, is a goal predicated on bullying and control. We need to have a goal which is predicated on freedom and opportunity. We use that language, we don't have that reality. We need to make sure our language fits our reality.